Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain played 45 minutes for the under-21s last night. Have you had any feedback on him, and is he likely to be involved on Monday night?
I don't know yet. What is the most important is that he played and came through well. We'll see today how he is. But it's been out for 5 months, that takes a little bit some time to play in the Premier League.
It's a very timely and positive boost with the injury to Theo Walker.
Yes, it's good, of course, to have him back, but there are different type of players. Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain is more midfielder, and Walcott is more striker type, and one doesn't exactly compensate the other one because they are different players.
Just to run through the other injuries or team news ahead of Monday night, Giroud and Ozil probably going to be okay.
Giroud and Ozil should be available for Monday night.
Ramsey and Gibbs probably not.
Ramsey probably not. Gibbs has a little chance.
And Thomas Vermaelen and Nicholas Bentner Nicholas Bentner's out.
Nicholas Bentner is out. Thomas Vermaelen will be short.
Anything else? Anyone else?
We have some other problems, yes, but it's no major.
And just lastly from me, obviously you're playing Monday night, you're playing last, and you could be in third place. It's going to be like that. It's so tight at the top now, and with games on different days, it's going to be playing catch up at certain times.
Yes, that's the disadvantage when you play last. But all of us have to deal with that situation, and it's part of Premiership as well to handle this kind of situations.
Arsene, hello. How is Theo? How's his state of mind at the moment?
Look, it was a big shock to him because none of us expected such a bad injury straight after the game, and it was devastating to hear that on Monday night that he got that problem, but Theo is very strong mentally and level-headed, and he deals with it as well as you can do when you are confronted with this kind of situation.
There's been no shortage of surgeons coming forward suggesting they might be able to get Theo fit for the World Cup. Do you pay any heed to that?
That's a disease you have everywhere in the world. There's always people who make miracles, but when you make more inquiry, they never had surgery as a football player or with a top athlete to prove that what their statement is right. We have enough experience on cruise ship to know that unfortunately the minimum time is 6 months to come back.
From what you know of him, though, are you confident that he will come back as good as ever, including his electrifying pace?
Yes, I'm convinced. We know deep studies show that the players between around 25 with that kind of injury, they come back as normal. When you're over 30, over 29, you do not ever come back exactly the same. But between 25 and 28, you come back to the level you had before.
Encouraging news about Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. If he was to be ready for Monday and Villa, would you have any hesitation about putting him back in against the team that he was injured against on the first day of the season?
No.
Would that come into your thinking at all?
No, I would have no hesitation.
Nicholas Bentner, can you give us a kind of forecast as to when he may be available again for you?
End of January. 2 to 3 more weeks.
So, where does that leave us?
I saw. Where do we go from here?
How much has it changed this last week in terms of your thoughts on transfers now, Arsene?
Well, I said nothing has changed because we are open to a possible solution, and if something interesting turns up, we will do it.
Is the possible solution a loan, do you feel, rather than a transfer?
It could be a loan as well, yes.
We talked about Dimitar Berbatov last week. Has there been anything that's changed?
No, I do not want to go into
No.
any specific names. You
Sure,
know, it's always sensitive, especially when the players play in other Premier League clubs. But at the moment, I believe that we have no shortage unless we have some other big injuries. So we are, and that's why it's important just we continue to focus on our performances and our next game. And the transfer market is a distraction. That for me is not welcome. I think it would be much better that there is no transfer market at all in January, and that the teams start and finish with the same players would be fair, unless you have big injuries. You know, for the rest, what is important is that we focus on the quality of our performances, because it's a period that is very sensitive at the moment, and every game is now a massive game.
Without labouring the transfer market issue, would it just be strikers that you'd be looking at, or would you consider a defender, for example?
I have enough players everywhere else, you know.
Okay. Arsenal's record at Villa Park in the Premier League is outstanding. Last 14 visits, 7 wins, 7 draws. What do you put that down to?
We have overall a good away record in the recent years, and that is part of the explanation. And it was always very physical, tense games, but we always managed to find the resources to do well. Why? There's no specific reason. Let's just make sure that it continues.
If it does continue, will there be an extra sense of satisfaction because of what happened on the opening day of the season against Villa?
No, it's not. It's not a revenge. The opening game of the season was not Villa's fault. It was just the fact that this kind of game happened, and what happened after the game is not Villa's fault. It's just the fact that we had to face dissatisfaction from people and from our fans. That was completely normal. But Villa is just another game. What is always important is the next game to produce a good performance.
Olivier Giroud scored early on, of course, to give you the lead in that game. It sounds as if he may be back. How hopeful are you that he can slot straight back in and get back on the goal scoring form again?
Look, he needed a rest physically, and he got one, and I'm convinced that he will come back refreshed and ready to score again. But what is the most important, even for Olivier Giroud, for me, is that the team produces a good collective performance. After Darcy scores somebody else, we have plenty of players in the team who can score. And for me, it's always the most important is that we play the football we want to play. And after, anybody can score in my team.
Just a couple more things from me, if I may, just away from the Villa game. Thomas Hitzelsberger has obviously come out this week, but he felt he couldn't do it until after he'd retired. Do you feel that the game may be moving into a situation where a player would come out while he was still a current player in the Premier League?
I wish, because I think we have a history in our football culture that is not very tolerant on that front. And the next step is certainly that people who are still practicing and playing have the freedom to come out if they feel they want to do it. And maybe the best day is when you don't talk about that anymore. That means it is absolutely accepted that everybody does what he wants.
And just finally, Bayern Munich are spending €90,000 subsidising their fans' tickets for your game at the Emirates. Is that something the English game can learn from, or is it something indeed that you already do?
It is something that we already do. We just don't talk about it like Bayern Munich. And we subsidise already our away fans to go and to travel.
Arsene, you've said Theo's obviously mentally strong. Could you give us an idea of what you have said to him and what he has said to you as a result of what's happened last week?
Well, what he has said to me is that he, of course, is under shock, but he he will fight as ever to come back, and he is strong mentally. And if you look at his career, he had a few setbacks, a few disappointments. The first, I think he had a few things to handle that are not easy to handle. To go at 17 years of age to a World Cup after to be left out in South Africa was certainly a massive blow to him, and he always recovered from it, and in a very strong way. So I'm confident he will do it again.
And what have you said to him?
Well, that he just will be on his side and support him as much as we can.
Is it uppermost in his mind that, you know, this is another World Cup he's missed, and, you know, it's...
Yes, it is. It is absolutely unbelievable, his career, because he went to the World Cup when he certainly was not ready to go, and when he's ready to go, he is not selected first time. After, when nobody disputes that he will go this time, he's out for injury. It's unbelievable.
Just one final point from me. You're talking about the transfer market. Given what happened at the start of this week, everyone was saying that a massive priority for you was to get in a striker, whether it be a loan or whether it be a buy. Are you saying that's not the case?
I don't
You're saying it's
deny.
not
No, anybody has a right to have an opinion. What is completely right. What I say is in January, it's not super.
Is it not a priority for you now, though, do you think?
No, the priority is to play well on Monday night with the players we have. That's the only priority we have, and to win the game. That's our priority. After that, the priority for the media is to talk about the transfers. But for me, it's to play well football.
Arsene, I'm going to ask you about transfers.
Well, because I can understand that it is your priority.
Alvaro Morata's a name that you've been linked with. Is there any truth in that name?
As I told you, I do not want to speak about any specific names. You know, for us, it's important to prepare well for Monday night and to win the game. The people who are in the newspapers do not help us to win the games on Monday night. It's the players who play here.
But from their side, though, from Real's side, there does seem to be a lot of suggestion that there are talks going on about him particularly.
I don't know.
You don't know if you're in talks? Or
No, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if we are not in talks
with Real about Morata?
with Real about anybody.
It is part of the issue.
On loan?
Is part of the issue in signing a striker this month about not perhaps wanting to upset Giroud at all, or the balance with him, because he's been so good in the first half of the season?
Look, it's not about. I don't think that our players would be upset, and you cannot play in a big club and be upset about any speculations, because all the players have to face that, and on top of that, it would not be against any player. You know, what we want is the squad to be as strong as possible, to fight. And to have a chance to win the battles we want to win.
Just on a different tack, can I ask you about Abu Diaby, how his recovery is going?
Slow and a bit slower than I expected, but it just started to run. You know, he is still long-term recovery.
Do you think he'll play again this season?
Honestly, I don't know. We have to assess him. At the moment, we have sent him somewhere to do slowly his rehab, because a club like ours is more focused on the players, you know, who on a daily basis can play. And he comes back next week, and then I will know a bit more about him.
If he's had another setback, or his recovery is slow, I mean, how is his mental state? He must be in a very difficult place.
He has been tested on that front in his whole career, and I must say, after his last injury, it took him a while to recover from that blow. Now, the last time I spoke to him was beginning of December, and he looked focused and motivated to give absolutely everything to come back.
just a quick general one. That the Winter World Cup seems to be back on the agenda now.
Mhm.
How would you think the Premier League?
Look,
would adapt to
it is common sense. Or the World Cup in Qatar can only be in winter, because people always say, yes, we have an air-conditioned stadium, but that's not the problem. The players are prepared to play at any temperature. I think just about people who go there, the fans. How can you, with 50 degrees outside, you want people to walk outside, to visit, to meet together outside in the street. And if that's not possible, you cannot organize a decent World Cup. So common sense tells you since the start that it can only happen in winter.
How impressed have you been with Thomas Rosick's reintegration, and would this have any impact on where he goes out of contract at the end of the season? Is that right?
Look, Thomas Rosicky will stay here at the end of the season, and he is a marvelous player and contributes well to the team, and he is certainly a typical Arsenal player in a way that he's mobile, he's technically sound, he's team oriented, so he's a fantastic football player.
Just finally, how important has it been that you've been able to have quite a settled defence in, well, probably for most of the season? It's almost like when everyone's fit, they all pick themselves, don't they?
Yes, we had, I think, a very stable and solid defensive record since the start of the season. We had two blips. One was against Villa in the first game, and one was against Man City when we played at Man City. But overall, our defensive record has been absolutely top, and that's what we want to keep until the end of the season and even improve.
Arsene, how vital is it having Podolski back now, especially with what's happened to Rio this week? Does that give you that other option down the middle of Giroud?
Yes, Podolski is still. Podolski is in the position of Chamberlain. That means has been out for 4 months, and after being available doesn't mean you're competitive in the Premier League. It takes him some time to come back. This week he looked sharper in training, and so he's getting closer now to be fit, completely fit again.
Knowing him like you do you think Arsenal fans have seen the best of him yet?
Look, I never think that, because I believe that when you're a football player you can always improve, and he's working hard at the moment, and he's a fantastic finisher. Lucas, if he's one who you want to see in front of goal with the ball shooting position, it's him. Certainly one of the best finishers I've ever seen. So when he's physically ready, he can of course help us.
So he can play that central role with Giroud?
He can play that central role of course when he's completely fit. He came on in the recent game. He was not completely ready, but he is one of the potential assets we have there.